these people, they're tire kickers, they're not in the market to buy anything. Then I would reframe that and say, give me at least 2 or 3 real reasons from the customer of why you feel they're not in the market. If they start talking about, well, they said they weren't interested. Okay, when they said they weren't interested, did you find out what was they weren't interested in? Was it they weren't interested because of the timing? They weren't interested in the product? What did they mean when they said, well, I don't know? So they didn't go deep enough.
Welcome to MetaGagement, the HR show that dives deep into the heart of employee engagement and workplace culture. Your hosts, Ann Scottlin and Dr. Lyman Montgomery, bring you a groundbreaking show that explores innovative strategies and insights to transform and elevate your organization's HR practices. Dr. Montgomery is an employee engagement expert and best-selling author, while Ann Scottlin is an acclaimed business consultant and podcaster. Together, they will unpack the complexities of modern HR challenges and reveal innovative solutions that can be immediately applied to your workplace. Please welcome Ann Scottlin and Dr. Lyman Montgomery.
Welcome back to MetaGagement-HR, the show where we are helping you make the possible probable. Welcome to the show here with myself, Ann Scottlin, and the wonderful Dr. Lyman Montgomery. Hi, Lyman.
Hello.
I am loving this series, dealing with toxic employees. We're already on to the third of 4 parts of the series, and it's just been so refreshing to look at new and different approaches to dealing with toxicity in the workplace. And today we're going to talk some more about that specifically. But if you're new to our show, please like and subscribe. We really appreciate that, whatever platform you're listening on or watching on. And copy and paste this link. Shoot it off to someone who might enjoy hanging out with us here for a few minutes today, or in general would just like to have more information about dealing with toxic workplace environments. Our mission here is really we are just committed to elevating HR practices through continuous innovation and neuroscience-backed approaches. And that's really what makes us different, right, Lyman?
Absolutely. It's all about practical applications to real life issues and problems in the workplace.
And it's really about, just shaking up, like you say, shaking up the status quo in human resources and giving you, our listeners and viewers, the tools to infuse your culture with innovation and insight and not just the same old. Nothing is static. Everything is always in change and motion. So we are thrilled to have all of you with us today as we're diving into this other episode and unveiling the Turnaround Toolkit today for performance improvement. And this is going to be a guide for you to just navigate those tricky workplace challenges that sometimes just seem so hard to crack. You know the hard nuts to crack. I'm sure you know which people. We can't call them nuts. Okay. That was a metaphor. Anyway, the tough ones. So you know exactly what we're talking about. And when you hit those situations where wisdom just seems to fall short and conventional methods just don't seem to be enough, and you really need something more dynamic, more engaging, more meta, which is why we call ourselves MetaGagement.
That's something that's really important. That's something that's really important, and that is going above and beyond what we've always done traditionally within the realm of human resources. It's that out of the box. One person said, forget the box. Let's just destroy the box altogether. And that's what really Meta's about. And that's why I think MetaGagement, the marriage between going above and beyond that which is normal, ordinary, with engagement, thus MetaGagement.
Yes. So going above and beyond, we always talk about engagement, but can we take it to a higher level? Can we make it something that becomes more instinctual and natural and less of a misery? Nobody wants to work in a misery, right? No, it's so true.
Good. Yes.
So let's just jump right in. For example, what if I have an employee, their recent sales numbers have just consistently missed the targets, and their customer feedback has highlighted areas where they need improvement. Say I've tried coaching them already, but their performance really hasn't met that standard that is vital for this role. What do I do?
Yeah, yeah. That's a very, very practical situation, especially when the customer base is more knowledgeable than, let's say, in the past 10 or 15 years.
Mm.
Generally speaking, the customer probably knows just as much about the company, but it's almost offset because the company have a website. So if I'm interested, maybe I've checked out the company. That's why I contacted them. Whereas a salesperson knows very little about the potential client or customer.
Mm.
And so what's important in situations like that is to get as much information about the customer before trying to make the sale. For example, a lot of times people will promote features and benefits, but they really don't know why the individual's in the market for their product or service. And so a good question to lead with is, I'm just curious, what made you reach out to us? And that kind of gives you a background. They say, well, I was just comparing some pricing, or, John told me that he worked with you guys and you did a fantastic job. And I said, I'm going to check them out. You want to get some information, and that gives you a baseline starting point to figure out what is it that the customers looking for, rather than you trying to make the sale. Because the truth of the matter is, people buy from those whom they trust, like, and have a sense that they know something about them. Very few
So this
people,
is
unless it's commodity, buy something cold, like a
true.
t-shirt or a tie.
Right, right. So if this is my employee who's struggling with their customer feedback, this is one way for me to intervene and say, let's start studying the customers in more
Right,
detail. Let's make this
right,
part of our core curriculum, if you will,
right.
for
And
how
role
we
play.
go through procedure.
Right. And I would start by saying, I'm going to be the customer. Let's kind of role play, because sometimes it can be, we mentioned in the last episode about a lack of confidence. If I come across like this, well, you may not be in the market for this, but if you are, we have a couple of ideas. Now, I wouldn't recommend 3930B. It's not my favorite color, but, who am I? Boy, I'm not gonna buy anything from that joker. There's no sense of confidence. You don't believe in your own product. You just told me you wouldn't buy your own product. And
Oh, yeah.
so you want to make sure that the language patterns that I'm using convinces, or better yet, compels the individual that I am the right choice for them.
Mhm, mhm. And if say my employee, say I've already done some of this coaching and their performance still isn't up to par, then I'm going to say, okay, if I want to go meta, if I want to take this to a new level, what are neuroscience principles that I can incorporate? What are innovative
Yeah,
HR strategies or new
sure,
strategies that
sure.
I can do to help them develop a personal performance plan?
Right. One neuroscience technique you can use is called reframing and trial closes. And what that simply means is this: when you reframe something, that you take an old idea and you reposition something new. Uh, for example, I may say, so your sales numbers are down. Why do you think your numbers are down? Well, you know what? The list isn't working. I got a dead list. These people, they're tire kickers. They're not in the market to buy anything. Then I would reframe that and say, give me at least two or three real reasons from the customer of why you feel they're not in the market. And if they're unable to do that, then I know that they've not done their job
Hmm.
in making the sale based on what the potential client or customer wanted. If they start talking about,
Mhm.
well, they said they weren't interested. Well, what were they not interested in? That's going meta. You're going above and beyond just that answer.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
then if they say, well, they just weren't interested. Okay, when they said they weren't interested, did you find out what was they weren't interested in? Was it they weren't interested because of the timing? They weren't interested in the product? What did they mean when they said, well, I don't know? So they didn't go deep enough. And that's where the problem is. Sometimes the sale ended because the person did not, number one, provide value.
Mm-hmm.
Second of all, they did not provide a reason to act now. There was no sense of urgency created. Well, we've been in business for 20 years. We always got a sale going on. Well, if you always have a sale going on, then why are you telling me, hey, we got a special sale? There's no sense of urgency if there's a sale always going on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if that doesn't work, you're going
So
to do more of a HR strategy, such as a PIP, performance improvement plan.
excellent. Yeah. So, you list these performance issues, you use examples and techniques like you've just done, and then creating measurable objectives, right? Because
Yeah.
if you want a performance improvement plan, the client needs to know exactly where they're headed and how that's going to be quantified.
And how you going to measure it? Yeah, it's very important. Also with that measuring the objective, you want to put a schedule of meetings. We're going to meet, once a month or once a week to kind of go over. You also want to put some gamification in there. During our meeting, we'll kind of role play. We'll create some scenarios. And really, you want to put the person in as close of a real life scenario as possible. We're going to deal with objections. For example, there are only 4 common objections to any sale. It's either cost, lack of authority, they didn't see the need, or it's bad timing. Those are the 4 major reasons why a person will not buy. It's either they see the cost is too high or too low, they're unauthorized to make a decision, they don't see the need for that particular product or service, and the time. You know what? You called me, I was on my way out the door, I'm going on vacation for 2 weeks. And that's where you also want to state the last part of that performance improvement plan is what are the consequences if expectations are not met. I've reviewed thousands of PIP, performance improvement plans, that had 0 consequences. So if they don't do it, then what? Well, we'll have another conversation. No, it needs to be stated clearly. If you do not meet satisfactory, whatever that is, then we're going to advance this to either a written warning or some other form of corrective action, whether that's a final or even termination in some cases. If I'm a car salesperson and I'm given 6 months to make 2 sales, and at the end of 5.5 months, I've not made 1 sale, I'm probably not going to make 2 sales in the next 2 weeks.
Not unless I can get Uncle Joe to come over here and bail me out and buy a car, right?
Exactly.
Well, and it's true. And then sometimes too, the worst case scenario, termination. But sometimes you have an employee who is actually legitimately stuck and frustrated.
Yes.
And they really do want help. They really do want to work towards better performance and a better outcome. So, maybe we can help monitor their progress, create a feedback loop that really encourages them to take a sense of ownership and autonomy in this situation. It's not like they're just being used as a puppet. It's that they actually can own it, and they can own it when it doesn't work. They can own it when it does, and really support them in a meaningful way, and with those regular check-ins, like you said before.
Yeah. And another real quick is to match them with, let's say, your top salespersons, and kind of be in the background and kind of, see how they deal with objections. Because a lot of times people, they learn better by mirroring and matching someone. And so maybe they're using a different strategy than what you're using. For example, I know some great salespeople, they would start off talking about nothing about sales. They start off with building rapport. Hey, I understand. I saw on your LinkedIn profile that you just won, an amateur golf tournament. Man, that must be really great. The more you get that customer talking about him or her or their sales, you relaxes them. You get those in another neuroscience. You want to get that customer to release endorphins and oxytocin into the bloodstream. Those are bonding hormones that the person feels a sense of kinship and a rapport with you rather than some icky, sticky sales guy coming off trying to sell them something they don't need, don't want, and will not use.
And here's another way to go meta, which is to lead by example. If you're teaching your salesperson how to recognize this in the customer, do it with the salesperson without telling them first.
That's good.
Ask them about their golf game. Ask them about where they're coming from and how they're feeling, and not just about business. Like, come across until you've created a warm environment, and then say, by the way, I just used a technique with you that I would think you would find very effective with your customers.
Yes.
Well, what's that? Like, you've already created a warm and open space. So as always, leading by example, there's nothing like it. And I know what you said. When I was a young professional, my favorite way of learning was by observing.
Yes.
I always wanted to be in that room with the top salespeople. I always wanted to be at the workshop at the highest level they would let me enter, because I wanted to learn from the best, and I would pick it up very quickly. Why learn everything by trial and error? So I think also encouraging employees to have the open-mindedness to say, hey, I'm actually here to help make your life easier and your performance and your numbers. I know you want to make your numbers. I know you want to make your goal commission this quarter. Let's see if we can make that happen. Well, time is flying. We have to take a break real quick. So if you haven't already, please subscribe to this platform, like it, shoot us a message on our website or email. Our site is MetaGagement.com for HR professionals and anyone who's dealing with challenging workplace environments. And if you're enjoying what you're hearing here today, copy and paste this link to someone you know who might like to enjoy it with us. So we will be right back.
Get ready to unlock your full potential and transform your vision into reality. Go beyond traditional employee engagement to focus on the whole person with the focused Meta Mindset system. Experience real, measurable progress towards personal and professional goals. Dr. Lyman Montgomery and Scottlin provide tailored guidance and support to help you overcome obstacles and thrive. Join them for their engaging events, like the Lunch and Learn webinar series, and experience the future of employee engagement. Visit MetaGagement.com now to get started today.
All right, welcome back. Wow, Lyman, time is just flying when we're having fun. I can't believe how fast these episodes go.
Yeah, I mean, they move right along, but it's good stuff. Good stuff.
It's so good. And now you're here with us in the third part of our series called Dealing with Toxic Employees. And we're already in part 2 of today's episode, which is Turnaround Toolkit for Performance Improvement. If you hadn't heard the first part, go back, because we just covered some really, really useful information and tools that I think will help you think out of the box, go meta. So we don't have a lot of time left, but I do want to discuss this another concept briefly, which is when there's tension within teams, we talked about last time, but between teams, where collaboration has really become crippled. What if the sales team and the marketing team are constantly escalating into daily arguments? This is really limiting everyone's productivity. And how do we approach this? What are the neuroscience, MetaGagement approach to these kind of challenges?
Yeah. When a person is in a stressful situation, you enter into what's known as fight or flight state. And what happens?
Or freeze. There's a new one. I'm just adding that because I love that one.
You're right. And then what happens is the body is flooded with cortisol that enters the bloodstream, mixed with adrenaline. That's what gives you that sort of tense feeling, hypersensitivity activity, where people feel on edge. And if you get overloaded with that, the body can, like you said, either regress to where you want to run, or you get an aggression where you want to fight, or you get paralyzed to where you literally freeze. And you hear people say it's almost as if I'm stuck in quicksand. I mean, I'm trying to move and I can't move. I didn't know what to say. My tongue, felt like it got thick. I'm sweating. I'm clammy. and I just froze up. You hear people say that. And so those are all natural. And what you have to do to get unstuck, to release that aggression, is to simply get grounded. And one of the ways you get grounded, and you hear people say this, take a walk. There's something about movement, because when people are in that state, this is all neuroscience, is they tend to stiffen up, they tend to get stuck. And in order to get unstuck, you need to propel them out of that. And one way you do this is called a pattern interrupter. A pattern interrupter, when you say something like a joke, and they start laughing, even though they upset it, like, I'm trying to be mad and you making jokes. That's a pattern interrupt. You have to break that pattern. Another way of doing that is to clap. You'll see sometimes, remember them old movies where the person hysterical and they say, snap out of it. I won't go as far as you slapping somebody. You don't want to do that. But you have to do something to break that train of thought to get their body to reset again. And the way that you can reset is either loud noises, such as a clap. So another thing that you can do is to have them say, listen, everybody, let's just take a deep breath and actually mimic and say, come on, just breathe with me right now. Everybody, inhale, hold it for 3, exhale. And do that 2 or 3 times. And that's another way to help get them to hit the reset button in their brain.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the breathing. And you know what's really funny? Because sometimes it strikes people as annoying. And you'll see where I'm going with this in a moment, where they're like, okay, we're going to take 3 deep breaths. And they're like, what are we, 5 years old? Like, but when you have to do it with everyone, almost always someone will start cracking up, because you can't all do that without. And there's a whole nother technique that I learned years ago from neuroscience, which was laughter therapy, which is not what we're talking today, but getting them into, even if it's the deep breathing that causes the laughter, there is nothing like laughter, as you said, to create a change in the energy. And here's one of the things I just want to point out. Then this is, again, this is about going meta, using neuroscience, using the mind and body together as a tool, an instrument to get the objectives you want. Is a lot of times we wait until we see, oh yeah, the conflict is really, these 2 teams, they're constantly arguing and fighting. I can see that there's a huge emotional toll being taken, a huge psychological, the well-being of the employees isn't well. So let's target the core problem. When sometimes you want to target, in so many ways, what we're talking about right now, either in a grand sense or in the moment, the physical and mental first, like the interrupter, like doing the deep breathing, like laughing. If you say, let's all take a step back, let's forget the problem for now. Let's just rechange the energy. Maybe we have to do some silly team building activity, that people hate, but still it's funny and it's hilarious. And we're going to play pin the tail on the donkey. I don't care what it is. So let's shake up the emotional, physical environment. And then once we've all sit down, we're having a cup of tea or coffee together, then let's open up the deep stuff. But instead of going straight to the cancer, for lack of a better word, let's create an environment. Let's set the stage. Let's get you on a gurney. Let's get you into an appropriate space. Let's put you in the right energy before we start cutting, because then it's just everyone's going to resist. They're going to clam up. It's going to be painful, and you're not going to have the kind of outcome that you're looking for.
If you ever go to the dentist, you ever notice, like, for example, my dentist, especially if I have some major dental work, like let's say nobody wants to go in for a root canal. But my dentist will carry on a conversation. Now, it's kind of hard really to respond. Your mouth is kind of, wide open. But he's talking to me. And at some point, he would kind of tap me on the shoulder. And what I realized, I didn't know it at first, but then I realized when he was tapping me, that's when he was giving me an injection. And it was to create a momentary distraction where I'm focusing on him tapping me on the shoulder. At the same time, he shooting me up with Novocaine.
You're like, wait a minute.
I'm like,
no, it's true.
I said, you old slap fox, you. Okay. But it's true.
Now, it is absolutely true. And I've literally had them do that before. And it's making me very effective. So let's say we bring in these tools. We do this. At what point do we say, I think it's time for professional mediation or professional counseling?
Yeah, if the person is in a deep rut,
And we're
they
talking about teams. So this is like
right.
we have a
So
whole team issue.
it's a whole team. If the team feel like it's evolved to the point where they are literally stuck in their own headspace, where it's very challenging for them even do simple tasks, then you want to bring in a professional mediator to help them to get unstuck, to really
Mhm.
deep dive into the root cause that we talked about in the last episode. Sometimes it might need professional counseling, especially let's say if it's a new team that have gone through a buyout. There's a new
Mhm. Mhm.
company, new rules, new managers. There weren't any real notice. It's like we was given, a 1 week or 2 week notice that the company been sold. We don't know who's keeping their job. That can create a lot of tension, a lot of stress. And that would be a good point where you bring in counselors to kind of help them.
Mhm.
But each person's going to process differently.
Yeah,
You're
no,
going to
this is
have,
really great.
yes, you're going to have
It's really good
those that
advice.
are good at change. You're going to have those that are not good at change.
Hmm.
Uh, Younger
And I've
people
seen this
tend to deal
happen
with
so many
change. Yeah,
times.
yeah. Younger people tend to deal with change much better. Uh, Unfortunately, those that have been with an organization for let's say 10 plus years, they may struggle with change because the default is, well, we used to do it this way. We've always done it this way.
Hmm. Hmm.
Especially if you have, and you see this a lot of times where let's say the new boss is 20 years younger than the
Oh
average
yeah,
team
it's
member.
very common now, right? I mean, I've
Yes.
seen that so many times with so many people I know and in my own workplace where this is like a tremendous difference to have
Yeah.
a 20-year younger boss that is not weird at all anymore, where the 50-year-olds have 30-year-old managers or, however that is in your space.
Right.
So understanding those dynamics are really important, and anticipating that you may need mediation or
Right.
counseling in that kind of sense can be a very positive experience. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be some deep dark thing. It doesn't have to be individual. It can be group session, but there's a lot of ways to make the possible probable, as we always say, by getting that extra professional help when you need it.
Mhm.
And when the bottom line is at stake and you have had a merger, a buyout, whatever that is, you probably will be able to find the funds to do this because everyone wants it to happen
Yeah.
successfully. So
Yeah.
you
The
can't
other thing,
worry about the money.
right. The other thing I was going to say when you mentioned as far as the funds and everything, if you're going through any type of major change, think of it as an investment. It's a great investment to make sure that not just the health of the company, but also the mental health of your greatest asset,
Hmm.
which are your employees, is taken care of as well. And so
Absolutely.
it's worth the investment, whether that be an employee assistance program or bringing on a life coach. I know a number of
Hmm.
companies that utilize life business executive coaches to kind of
Those
help.
are such great ideas, Lyman, and I
Yeah.
wish we had more time. But I
Oh
want
my
to thank all
goodness, we are
of you
out.
for
Yes.
being here today for the third part of our series, Dealing with Toxic Employees. This episode, Turnaround Toolkit for Performance Improvement. Don't worry, we're not done. We're coming back. The next episode is going to be Building Bridges, which is just dovetails perfectly into what we're talking about today. Building bridges, not barriers. How to create a
Yes.
culture of feedback and improvement. So we are always airing on this platform, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. GMT, and you can click the link anytime to listen to it again or share it with a friend. Send us your messages and questions. We'd love to answer them on the show, and we'll see you next time.
Take care.
Bye.
Goodbye.